Good morning. This is Chris Sanford, District 2 State Young Farmer Representative, and I'm here today with Matt Capp from Michigan Farm Bureau, and we're going to discuss a discussion meet question as it reads, Urban sprawl presents significant challenges for farmers and ranchers, impacting access to land and resources. We see that 1.9 million acres of agriculture land are lost to development each year. How can Farm Bureau help promote responsible growth in communities while mitigating the loss of farms, ranches, and the agrarian way of life? Matt, if you want to go ahead this morning and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do for Farm Bureau, and then we can dive into the topic of urban sprawl.
Sure. Good morning, Chris, and hello to everyone else. I'm Matt Capp. I'm in the Public Policy Division at Michigan Farm Bureau. Been working for Farm Bureau members for 20 plus years. I grew up in Washtenaw County on a farm just outside of Ann Arbor on a dairy, beef, and cash crop farm. And some of the areas I specialize in at Farm Bureau are what we're talking about today: land use, local government, and farmland preservation.
So we had a chance to talk a little bit, but urban sprawl's kind of evolved. Both you and I know growing up in the counties next to each other along the I-94 corridor, um, kind of the 1980s, 90s, and leading up to 2008, we saw a lot of growth in our counties and throughout southern Michigan in urban sprawl and in housing and splits of farmlands throughout the area. And then kind of post 2008 leading up to now, urban sprawl has taken a little different definition of other opportunities are moving into our communities from solar data centers, battery plants, to push the competition, plus the restrength of more housing needs. Is that kind of the way you see it? And what's urban sprawl to you as you've seen it?
Um, yeah, I think I would agree with the premise of your comments there. Growing up in Washtenaw County, near my dad's farm in the 80s and 90s, by this point, I didn't think there would be very much farmland left around there. The way, as quick as we were developing farmland in the 80s and 90s, um, I thought most of it would be gone by now. And there's a lot more today. There's a lot more farmland um, around there than I thought there would be. And a lot of that is because of the 2008 economic housing crash that really stopped a lot of development that was happening. Um, it stopped it for a few years. It's definitely coming back, but it's definitely delayed things. In terms of your comments about data centers and solar, there's a lot of competing interests for farmland these days. I feel like when I was growing up, at least where I grew up, there was one competing interest, and that was houses. Now it's houses, data centers, solar. There just seems to be more and more competing interests for farmland than what there used to be.
What I guess as we look at it and what we as Farm Bureau, what's one of the first things that I guess strikes you to be able to best help all of us that farm and produce on the land and live in kind of some of these areas and throughout any parts of Michigan, to be able to better ourselves, to be able to continue farming and compete against the interest at hand.
The first thing that I'm going to bring up is getting active and involved in your local government. There's a lot of land use decisions that are made at the local government level, and we need our members, we need farmers to be involved at the township and county level. I feel like in Farm Bureau, we concentrate a lot on the state and federal government, which is very important. I'm not diminishing that, don't get me wrong, but let's not forget about the decisions that are made at the local town hall because um, sometimes they have a lot closer impact than what happens in Lansing or Washington DC. So I guess to start, I would encourage more farmer, excuse me, more farmers to get involved in local government.
Yeah, so that, I mean, that's a huge piece of it. And as we get more involved, what are some of the things you've seen townships limit us as producers, um, that hurts us in the long run? And you know, whether it's being able to impact our operations or diversify our operation, what are some things we can do to work with the township, whether we're on it or not on it, to ensure profitability?
Yeah, I guess I would start with encouraging townships to be to be progressive in their ag zoning districts. I'm going to explain what I mean by that. Some townships view agriculture as corn, soybeans, and wheat, and a cattle operation or a dairy farm because that's what it was. That's what it was when I grew up. Um, a lot of farms are a lot of those types of farms are getting more diverse, particularly those farms that are near more urban areas, which I mean we're talking about urban sprawl here. So we're talking about farming near urban areas. A lot of those farms are trying to take advantage of the fact that they live closer to more people. So they're opening up a farm market, or they want to do on the farm weddings. They want to venture more into ag tourism. Sometimes ag zoning districts can be very restrictive to that. And I guess I could make an argument to a township that if they want to keep farmland and they want to keep they want to keep family farms from selling farmland, a good way to do that is allow them to do some of these things so they can be profitable and stay on the family farm.
So yeah, allowing us to be able to diversify without, you know, tying our hands behind our back, to not only prevent us, from being able to explore options to compete against outside interests, and even through, as we go through these hard economic times in agriculture, with a down markets of your traditional, um, crops, um, a lot of people have looked outside that, and especially in those urban areas, you know, myself living close to it, living closer to the people, it's been the right move. And I think Farm Bureau has allowed us and helped us at times when we needed that. Um, do you see um, do you see Farm Bureau growing? Have you seen us grow our presence in the townships, has, as a lot of this has changed the last few years, with so many people against some things? Has it gotten easier for some? I know you've been involved in some of those issues. I know there was a story up on the west side of Michigan. Has it gotten easier, or has it gotten harder, um, to be with those townships to help farmers?
Yeah, that that's a good question, and um, my answer is yes and no, and let me explain why I say that. We have over 1,200 townships in Michigan. In some townships, Has it gotten a little easier and have they done a great job working with agriculture? Yes. In other townships, no. And because we have so many townships in the state, it's I guess there could be 1,200 over 1,200 different opinions on that on that question.
Gotcha. What what do you see going forward? What's outside of running for local government? You know, what are some of the things that we could do to best educate um, maybe at a Farm Bureau conference or a young farmers conference or maybe even um, a 1 day meeting? What are some of those things to look at and best understand to be able to educate people?
Educate in terms of
Just understanding township and state rules um,
oh, okay. I
to be able to help us as producers, but also is, ultimately does personal property rights, we're always going to protect that as an organization. But, does Right to Farm Act step in and help us
yeah,
more? Um,
yeah, we've done educational programming at Farm Bureau conferences, including the State Young Farmer Conference on the Right to Farm Act. We've done them. We've kind of done a crash course on zoning 101. We've done we've done presentations on planning and zoning, what it's like to serve on your planning commission. Um, I found those to be effective, and I know that it's encouraged some to go back home and get involved in their local government, which is what our goal is.
Looking at outside interest of investment groups of different people of a lot of money coming together to buy land throughout not only Michigan but the country. I mean, is there a way Farm Bureau can make an impact not only in legislation but in the rulemaking? That do you see there needs to be a change in what we allow and who can buy land? Do we go in our, the way our constitution, different things are set up? Do we go too far if we limit people? Then it limits us to kind of not, hurt us more with more urban sprawl. What's some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I don't think that I'm the right person to answer the question. Um, when it comes to what Farm Bureau supports or oppose from a legislative side, that's that's determined by Farm Bureau members, and then people like me advocate for whatever that position is. So I I guess I would kind of refer that back or defer that back to our policy development process.
So yeah, for you guys out there, if you don't, I mean, Farm Bureau policy, starts at the local level, and things like that with some of those outside pressures, and then creating those resolutions to pass on the state policy committee. As a young farmer, had the opportunity to sit on that for 2 years, and then we vote on everything that goes into our policy book at state annual meeting. So I think when Matt sums it up well, he's under the direction of us as members, and um, there is a lot of outside interest, and that starts all at the local level, and how we want to guide the process here in Michigan and nationally under AFBF's policies. So continue to work on those. Um, got any more thoughts, Matt, on how Farm Bureau can help, or where you think urban sprawl will go?
Well, I I guess there's a couple things that I could bring up that I think help that help with urban sprawl and can help agriculture. So I guess the first one that I want to throw out is high density development. Instead of building one house on 10 acres, maybe you build 6 or 7. So you know, a higher density developments take up less land. You know, instead of using 100 acres, maybe you could only use 20 acres with a high density development. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that was especially in the townships around me, uh, as I was growing up, heading into, um, heading toward finishing up, high school years. That was really the boom that hurt us in our world and in farmland because of some of the way the township was set up. Um, with so much road frontage per house, new housing built. Usually it was around 200 feet of road frontage. And then it just, it tied your hands, and then you just saw bigger chunks of land come out, which, I've seen it as I've worked throughout Southern Michigan and in Washtenaw County. A lot of people wanted to come and have their piece of living in the country, whether it's with a few animals, but then we're we're chunking up big tracts of land for a small amount of people, and it just takes up so much more land that much quicker, without the high density housing. The high density housing and high density development for commercial growth is important, to kind of limit it, um, and slow it down some from being able to suck up so much land. So that's kind of what I saw, and agree that we have to continue to be able to utilize that, um, to keep as much farmland in production as possible. Do you have another comment you were thinking that toward it?
Yeah, I just agree with that. I just think that that's something that, you know, that Farm Bureau members that get involved in local government can push at the local township and county level. I guess the other thing that I guess the two other things that I was going to bring up, one of them, I think we need to do a better job of redeveloping areas that are already developed as opposed to developing open space. I think that's something that we don't do a very good job of in this country, is redeveloping areas that are already developed. There's always the desire to go out and use open space as opposed to using something that's already developed, and at some point we're going to run out of open space.
Yeah, I think we continue to look for the easiest and most profitable way, and we don't go back and revisit a lot of those sites that are wide open. Um, so I agree with you that, and that would be a great point to bring up. And um, looking at policy, going back to policy, I think that needs to be a continued strong push, from all counties, to continue looking at those avenues and how we push in that direction. Um, yeah, that's kind of, I think we've touched some of the big key pieces. Got any final notes or to wrap it up?
I guess I guess I would end with how I started. I guess I would encourage Farm Bureau members to get involved in the local planning and zoning process. That could be, you know, attending a few meetings, or it could be serving on your local planning commission, or serving on your local township board, or serving as a county commissioner. We need more farmers to be involved in local government. And if any member needs you know, information on you know, how those local boards work and function, I'm more than willing to give them a crash course on that. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, and Matt does a great job at it. So, if there's somebody that knows a lot about local government, here's your guy. So, hey, I appreciate your time today, and